This last video here basically contains no new information for you. You need to do the stormwater analysis for your proposed site conditions. Now keep in mind, you will likely have more catchment areas than you did for your existing surface because we added the sidewalk and the concrete pad and the pond. So you will have more catchments to deal with, so it might take a little bit longer, and you need to make a flow path for all of these. So make sure you have a boundary defined for all of them, the flow path for all of them, a coefficient that makes sense. So now your area is going to be smaller, your coefficients will be different because you added things like your BMPs, and we're working with things like pavement or a roof system here. So keep that in mind. For the roof system here specifically, since this is a flat area, you will not be able to turn this into a catchment. And I can show you what that might look like and why that's true. If I try to create a flow path or do water drop analysis on my surface, and I will just add this to a new layer. With that blue color. If I click OK, you can see as I start clicking on points, it works the same way that it did previously. But if I try to click on the flat surface, it says point on flat area, no water drop path. And that makes sense, right? Where is the water going to flow if the surface is flat? Nowhere. So you need to do your diligence and include this area in your analysis as well. You can either include this area in an existing catchment or in its own catchment. I think the best way for you to think about this is to look at which way you'd want your roof system to go. Like, do you want your roof to be highest in the middle this way and it slopes in the west and east direction? Or would you rather it be highest in the middle this way and slope towards the north and south direction? If it's north and south, for example, I might take, we know this pad is 40 by 70 feet. I might take half of that area and include it in the catchment up here, and take half of that area and include it in the catchment down here. And it's also an entirely impermeable surface, so I might do a runoff coefficient of 1 because no water is going through the roof. If the water's going through the roof, that'd be really bad. Now, say I have it going north and south, but I have rainwater harvesting going on the south side. Now that runoff coefficient might be 0.6, right? So that's a way you can look at your coefficients and including this flat area in your analysis. You can also treat the concrete pad with the roof as a separate catchment area and do it that way as well. That would work too. So go through, do your water drop analysis, isolate your longest flow paths, and then from there, you can make your catchments, find your coefficients, find your areas, and calculate your total runoff. If you have any multi-drains like I do here, I would just pick and choose which one you have it going into. So I have it here as this entire area will flow to this point. That's not strictly true, but the total runoff will be the same, so I think that's okay. Again, think about those BMPs and how those account to your runoff coefficients. This is an example of what my stormwater analysis might look like. So this is not the one I've been using for the videos. This is one I did to make the project. You can see I only had 4 catchment areas for my existing surface with a total runoff of 0.622. And after I made all my changes, I had a lot more catchments to deal with. So a lot of these areas are smaller, but these areas should match. So these are close enough, right? You can also see I have my runoff coefficients here. The time of concentration and the intensity, they're going to be the same. But the runoff coefficient in the areas change the flow rate enough that I get a reduction in my runoff, and that is largely to do with the BMPs lowering the runoff coefficients. So for example, for the sidewalk, I used permeable pavement, and so that brought down my coefficient from 0.9 to 0.55. So for this deliverable, you will need to turn in, along with all the other sheets we talked about, and everything is listed in the document, you will need to turn in another sheet showing your catchment areas for your proposed surface. So your catchment areas should look like this, right? So just need to select my finished grade surface. And, I needed to actually make a catchment group, sorry, but you know what those look like. It's the purple and the blue lines. That needs to be included in a plan sheet. You also need to include your Excel file so we can see your runoff comparison. On top of that, make sure to include your BMP plan view, your BMP sections, your existing surface exploration, so that's like with the slope arrows and the high points and the low points, as well as your existing surface catchment, so that's again with those purplish, pink, and light blue lines for the flow paths. And I think that's all you need to include, but again, check the assignment directions and remember that those justifications and the scorecard are not due for deliverable 6, but are due at the end of the project for deliverable 8. I recommend you do as much of it now as you can, though. All right, post on Piazza if you have any questions, come to office hours, and I will see you in deliverable 7.